The MCU and DEI has basically devastated the Marvel Cinematic Universe to the point now that nobody knows if it can last more than a few more years. Today, we'll tell you what the box office projections are for Thunderbolts and why it's shaking the nuts and bolts right off of the House of Mouse as they're terrified, finding out that this is one movie destined to fail yet again. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Hello, friends. Welcome back to another excursion into excellence right here on the YouTubes. As we get ready to dive in, consider clicking the like button and we'll tell you what the box office projections are for Thunderbolts. It's so low, you might not be able to believe it, but we'll put it on the screen. It's coming from third parties, not us, and we can't wait to make a fuss about the details. The MCU in deep, deep trouble, and we'll show it to you right now. Coming to you from that Park Place, Thunderbolts. And by the way, this story literally broke while we were in the intro. Thunderbolts now on track to perform worse than Captain America Brave New World in latest box office projection. Now, I do recommend that people go read this one. I have contributed to this, and this is really, really fascinating. I want to go into this paragraph right here where it says, according to both Box Office Pro, Thunderbolts is tracking for a domestic opening weekend between $63 million and $85 million, with a target around $80 million. That would position it among the bottom three MCU opening weekends of all time, behind films like Shang-Chi and Eternals. Let me just say this, say it again. After the flop that was Captain America Brave New World, Thunderbolts is now on track to perform worse than the Eternals and not far above the Marvels. And from what I'm hearing right now, this is slipping. So the numbers that we have right now may actually be in decline because these are the early projections based on pre-ticket sales. Let's go down to Cosmic Book News that has this. Matt McGloin, who he's fantastic. Great appreciation for him, says, projected to flop worse than Brave New World. Got it. Okay. It says, if the box office tracking estimates are anything to go by, Thunderbolts looks to be in trouble. Even worse than Brave New World. But on the bright side, things don't look to be as bad as the Marvels. Well, you know, that's like that's like if you're fed food in the cafeteria and one of them is fire ants and the other is gruel. And if you get the plate in the cafeteria with gruel instead of having to eat live fire ants, you might say, well, things are not so bad. But I wouldn't recommend eating gruel for fun, and I wouldn't recommend Marvel having Thunderbolts for fun. So here's what we're looking at. Thunderbolts is currently tracking in line, but remember what we said in the article in that Park Place. It's actually slightly behind Eternals and Shang-Chi. Wow. Both finished with around $400 million. Okay? Well, let's go to Captain America Brave New World right now, domestic. We now believe that Captain America Brave New World, as of today, within the last 12 hours, has crossed the domestic box office $200 million threshold. That's not good. The worldwide box office is at 413. Now, if Thunderbolts is tracking significantly lower than Captain America Brave New World, which it is, then there is a very solid chance this does not reach the 400 mark. Now, how bad is this looking? Well, let's go to Box Office Pro, and it says, long-range forecast. Can Thunderbolts give the Marvel Cinematic Universe a much-needed boost? And here's what they have. Coming out on May 2nd, Thunderbolts, Disney Marvel Studios. Domestic opening weekend range is $65 to $85 million. Now, this is not, this cannot be construed in any way as a good thing because what have we been seeing lately from these box office forecasts for Disney? What did we see with Snow White? What did we see with Captain America Brave New World? The reality was not in the middle of those two numbers. The reality was at the bottom of the two numbers or below. So that's when you start to say, okay, if we're already hearing inside the industry that this is coming in lower than what they're hoping, like it's already beginning to drop, this thing could come in the 50s. That's on the table. It's on the table. The Eternals, during the pandemic, no one wanted to see the Eternals. Nobody knows what the Eternals are. Nobody knows what they are today. The Eternals in a pandemic made $71 million. And like most movies that claim they came out during the pandemic era, you go, oh, come on. You know, That was 2023. Quit calling it that. No, the Eternals came out in November 2021. Theaters were just beginning to reopen. In some states, they were still heavily modified, and you couldn't, social distancing, all that. Okay. 71 million for a movie nobody wanted to see, and this might not make it. And I'm not even going to get into inflation because you all already know that. Panel, here's the list of how Marvel has been performing in the last few years. Captain America Brave New World opened to 88. Deadpool and Wolverine opened to 211. The Marvels opened to 46. And you can see the list. You can see the list here. These are not necessarily good. And we're getting back into Black Widow, Shang-Chi, Eternals kind of territory here. We may be looking at 3 flops in this year alone, and we may be looking at 4 flops out of the last 5 releases. Mm-hmm. And if you want to go even further, if you want to go back to Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania, you could say we're looking at 5 flops out of 7. So, panel, what say you? Is the MCU now seriously on life support with this latest news?
You know what's interesting?
And it's definitely on life support.
Yeah,
go ahead,
I'm looking at Thunderbolts. I think it actually looks like a more interesting movie than Captain America: Brave New World. Like Captain America: Brave New World seemed to be like an addendum to the Falcon and the Winter Soldier show, which was weird and bad and socialist and apologizing for let's say freelance warfare. We'll call it that, and be very kind to the awful people who were unexpectedly blowing things up and hurting people en masse. I'm trying not to use the T word here. I maybe need to go, Eastern for a better grasp on that word, Middle Eastern. Anyways, so that was really a pointless movie that also happened to have the Red Hulk in it. Thunderbolts actually has a pretty good cast. Florence Pugh, I've got nothing against her. Her character's funny. David Harbour, pretty funny as the Red Guardian. I would like to see what they do with Wyatt Russell's character of the U.S. agent, but it also doesn't look that fun of a movie, which is something that is desperately missing from the MCU at this point. Like the jokes seem to be just generic Joss Whedon fluff at this point. I don't think anybody. I think having the words Marvel are actually dragging these movies down a little bit. Yeah. There's like a weight that is pulling them down.
What a 180! What a 180 from where this was 4 years ago.
Right, with Captain Marvel. I mean, a movie that Captain Marvel was the first time that I did not regret missing out on a Marvel movie. When I eventually watched that one, it was okay. I guess this is technically connected. Yes, you have Samuel L. Jackson in it, which is like, for those of you who don't understand Samuel L. Jackson, if Pedro Pascal had a personality and a clear characterization that everybody knew what it was, that would be the way Samuel L. Jackson was in appearing in everything. He also wasn't the lead character in most everything. Him being in that movie makes it watchable. Thunderbolts, I don't know what this has going for it. And these movies seem to have a magnet pulling them to about 200 million very slowly in domestic, I should say.
That's it's so pitiful. I think about let's go back all the way to the beginning of the MCU. And when you look at what they did that is so different, they built up over a long period of time. You have movies that could be considered somewhat box office failures, like the first Captain America, the first Avenger, but they were building audience anticipation of what was to come, and they did it over a long period of time. And I don't know what happened with the writers room, the whole idea behind what the MCU was versus what it's become. If they wanted to distinguish the new MCU versus the Infinity Saga, they have done so, but in completely the wrong way from what it was. Because I remember anticipating every single MCU movie that came out because of like the end credit scene. Oh my gosh, what's this? And then you talk about that end credit scene for the next year and a half, but after a year and a half, they actually fulfill it. We've had end credit scenes over the last 5 years that literally go nowhere, that we don't know what the heck is about. You have Quantumania and you have Kang, and what the hell is the heck heck is that about? And it's so convoluted, you can't keep up, and that creates disinterest. When people can't keep up and they don't want to keep up, it's very, very disinteresting. And I think one of the recent proofs is the fact that you've got this brand new Daredevil show, Daredevil Born Again. It's not the greatest show, but it's certainly better than anything else that Marvel has put out on Disney Plus.
But hang on, Ron. Let's stay with that for a minute. Stay with that for a minute, because nobody's watching it.
Exactly.
That's what's concerning to me. You're saying it's one of the better shows. Nobody's watching it to the point
nobody's watching it.
Reviews.
Yeah, that was my point. Is that you finally have something that's halfway decent, but the care is gone. The love for Marvel is gone. It's gone out the door. And so what I'm saying is that literally Marvel has pushed their audience away over the last 5 years, either by being what I hate to use the blanket term woke, but what the DAI stuff, that it's just disinteresting. The MCU stuff, people don't care anymore. And I think that one of the bigger differences that I feel like with Star Wars, it's just like they kick people out. Like with Star Wars, it was so bad. People are just like, a lot of people watched those last 3 Star Wars movies, episodes 7, 8, and 9, and realized Star Wars sucks. And they just left, like really, really quickly out the door. With Marvel, it's been a little bit of a slower drain, but when audiences don't care, it's very, very difficult to get them back.
I think the answer is goodwill. They spent all their goodwill. They burned through their capital. You know, when you go through phase 1 and 2 and even to the climax with Endgame, first you hooked the comic book fans, right? That was the big thing. The comic book fans are the people who are going to see the movie 3 or 4 times. Then they bring their friends, and then they bring their friends' friends, and then they convince the normies to go, and then the normies got excited about it, and then it stopped being an event for a boyfriend to drag his girlfriend to, and it came that the girlfriend was bringing her friends to it, and it was a great big old party for everybody. And then Endgame ended, and there was no plan, and people said, well, it's going to work out. We'll see where it goes. And then it's just kind of been lingering disaster after lingering disaster. And then as fans started giving feedback, you started getting like pretty aggressive. This isn't for you, then don't watch it. And we know that every single time these folks do this, the response is immediate. Fine, we're not going to watch it. I think that these movies have that, a weakening magnet towards 200 because it's the remaining normies and the few comic book people who can't miss what's happening so they can say they saw it. But your audience is fractured. It's very much so fractured, and it's still diminishing. So I think if Thunderbolts happens to be good, it's going to have to rely on word of mouth, because I just don't see it happening. Like so Captain America was a Hulk sequel that no one asked for, that didn't have the Hulk in it, and continued a TV show that no one really liked. I've spoken to some diehard comic book people who are like, it's okay, I'll give it a B-. But for a Captain America movie to struggle to get to 200 million after 8.5 weeks, and most of that was with no competition, that's the canary in the coal mine falling to the bottom of the cage. We're in big trouble here. And I don't see any real enthusiasm for Thunderbolts other than, for Elena or whatever her character's name is. Outside of that, this is kind of you're coasting off of the Marvel name, but that Marvel luster is long gone.
Kevin, convince me. Tell me why this would make more than the Marvels. What would make it be bigger than that? Because I don't know. I don't see what the draw is. I don't understand. I have never understood what this is. And the same thing. What's the Ironheart? I guess is the name of that show.
Yeah,
that's coming out. Like I don't understand. I don't understand anything that's going on right now at Marvel. I don't understand, like, if they wanted this, really, it befuddles me in terms of strategic planning for where you want to go with your movies. If you wanted to have a female lead right now, and they knew this 3, 4, 5 years ago, if you want a female-led movie in the MCU, Storm is obviously the choice to go with. And we know they've been working on that, and it looks like their plans for Storm have fallen through in terms of bringing back Halle Berry. So they got problems. I don't understand why they think this is the solution versus all of the great female superheroes that they have that have massive amounts of lore and fan interest. I don't know any of these characters. I don't care about any of these characters.
It's desperation. The only thing that'll help this movie make money is Bucky. Bucky is one of the few characters from Phase 1 that we have left who's still active. And even then, I would still say you're relying on the Fox actors to bring these new X-Men to life. I think that's a massive mistake. Nostalgia is only going to bring you butts so far. Wolverine and Deadpool was a very unique thing. Deadpool holds a unique space in Marvel and in Fox. He's just his own pull. But how much longer can Hugh Jackman really train for Wolverine and have it be convincing?
They'll use AI. He's going to be Wolverine as long as Harrison Ford was Indy. By the way, these costumes, I don't even have to tell you. I don't have to say what I think about them because you can look at them, folks, and just I don't. From top to bottom, I don't know what it is. And what amazes me, and Jonas, maybe you could add to this, or Ron, have at it, but I get that there is now pretty strong evidence that Kevin Feige was not the secret sauce at Marvel.
Yeah.
But come on. I mean, Kevin, you were there. You, not you, Kevin, but Feige, you were there, man. Like, just by osmosis. It should have... You should have.
Can I throw this in here? I mean, if you go down the list, this isn't just like the cast-offs of previous films. Other than Bucky, you have the secondary character, the secondary lead of Black Widow, and the John Walker from the characters, the secondary characters who got a TV show from Captain America. Like these are all side characters of projects when the MCU was already losing interest. And Captain America Brave New World was the plot centered around something that happened in the Eternals. Like this isn't just that you had things that went wrong. This is you are now making follow-ups to the things that went wrong. So this is a copy of a copy, and there isn't anything special for people to latch onto. Nobody is wondering what the second Black Widow is going to do. No one is wondering what Red Guardian or US Agent or Ghost or Taskmaster. Oh my goodness, so many of these characters are and they did Taskmaster wrong. And by the way, Taskmaster is not in most of the production photos that are coming out here. So I guess I'm assuming that's a spoiler alert here. And then you have a character which is the Sentry, which if they do the Sentry like they did him in the comic books, it's still kind of confusing because it ends up rewriting the past of the Avengers, which, it's not like they have 40 years of comic book history behind them or more, because it's more. They have 10 to 15 years of the MCU, which is still fresh in everyone's mind because Iron Man was only 2008. So the idea that they're going to write in a character that was disappeared from the Avengers, it makes no sense. Also, that would be the second character in the MCU to have a mass memory wipe situation. So all of this, they're pulling from the strangest parts, and the fact that they're doing the Thunderbolts, but it doesn't have the Red Hulk in it. Like,
can I ask the panel a question real quick?
Yeah.
Okay. So, remember White Vision?
Oh, yeah. I was actually interested to see what happens with that character.
2021, 4 years ago, not a mention. That's what I'm saying. Is there's no connection to anything anymore, and nobody cares about this. What I hate, if I get into like a chat on Facebook or something, you always see somebody that goes, "Oh, tell me you've never read a comic book without telling me you've never read a comic book." But that's the problem. These movies cannot be made for just comic book fans. If they're gonna make money, they have to be made for the normies, and that's the whole point. That what normie knows what this is?
there aren't comic book fans anymore because they killed the comic book industry. And so, so here's something to think about. Disney has now done this to 2 franchises. And folks out there, just think about, I want you to think about the cost, the opportunity cost that's associated with this. Just wrap your mind around these numbers. if Star Wars had been handled the correct way, and if you'd had heroic Luke and the heroic trilogy and handed off to a new generation, which now would be winding down, right? Because this was 10 years ago. Okay. If that had been handled well, and if Marvel had been handled well post Endgame. Yep. Now, both of those franchises were treated almost exactly the same, with this determination that they were going to insert wokeism, right? Postmodern neo-Marxism into it. What is the cost? How many billions of dollars and how much stock value did Disney annihilate by going after wokeism as the way that they were going to be successful? It's insane. We're talking about billions and billions, maybe tens of billions of dollars in merchandise and movies and video games. It's crazy. Kevin, I'll give you the final word on it.
I'll say, listen, I think the big difference between this movie and the Self-Deletion Squad movies were, although they were not great, they were fun. It was mindless junk food. This does not look fun. There are no characters who really jump out at you, but this is the problem that Marvel has created for itself. After they got rid of Ike, the comics decided to go down a weird little path where we were going to sideline all the main characters and DEI, gender swap them all out. And what came was, just empty, hollow husks that couldn't hold a candle to what came before. Now you sort trickle into the MCU proper. I've said on this show many times, Kevin Feige is not and never has been the guy. Jon Favreau, Joss Whedon, the Russo brothers built it. They provided the foundation. They steered the ship. Feige was just there to take credit and take pictures. And once he had to do it by himself, he showed the world he couldn't. He's only there because he threw Victoria Alonso under that bus as quickly as he could, and was probably hoping that he would have escaped to Star Wars before anybody noticed that he just was not the guy for the job.
Well, imagine, Kevin, because the timeline here is that Feige, all those people that we're talking about, they exited, right? And Feige, having watched what just happened to Lucasfilm and Star Wars and Kathleen Kennedy, said, that's what we're going to do. We're going to go with that strategy. Now, that's a heck of a fail. You got to really give it to the man. That's a fail. Folks, it's time to bid you adieu, but we hope that you will help us anew. And that is, we're only asking you click that like button. Share, subscribe, click it, stick it to those algorithms. It is the notification bell, and drop a comment down below. And oh, by the way, have you gone the way of thatparkplace.com? www.thatparkplace.com. It's the website that if you're not yet bookmarked to, well, you should be. A bastion of truth and knowledge when it comes to entertainment and everything that's going on. Go check it out today, folks. We would love to have you over there as well. All right, we are getting ready to head out, but do not fret, for we will put out 4 more videos tomorrow, so long as the good Lord allows. And we believe that probably, just might, happen. All right, until the next time we get to share time with you, keep learning, keep growing, and as always, keep having fun. Jump into the water.
Why listen to music made by people and companies who really don't like you? Check out Vacation Radio today and prepare for all new content made by the people behind the WDW Pro Channel. It's the place you need for all the music. That should be fun. Hundreds of songs, every genre you can imagine. Listen live on YouTube and enjoy a set list that's always sunny. It's Vacation Radio. What are you waiting for? Every WDW Pro video has a link to Vacation Radio in the video description. Try it out and subscribe today.